computer and have to. So guys, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining for our sales objections masterclass. This is going to be the first one of the series. My name is Mohammad Ali. I am an NLP trainer, a body language master trainer, a Silva Ultramind ESP instructor, life coach, career coach, and a lot of other coaching stuff that I'm doing. With me is going to be Oz Merchant. And Oz, I would like you to introduce yourself and then we'll move forward.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. Oz Merchant. I'm here based in the U.S. I've got 20 plus years in sales and NLP trainer, working with folks over the number of years, primarily doing mind hacking. So that's my focus, is working with people, their beliefs, their ways of thinking, and helping them change that. So
Great.
We'll get started.
Thank you, Oz. And by the way, as Oz was talking about his 20 years, I also have about almost 25 years of experience, including sales. I only claim that I only and only have been able to sell ice to Eskimos. That's my only name to fame. So I sell a comb to the bolt and ice to an Eskimo. That's why I call myself a salesman. So, so we'll start. I'll also, if you can share your screen so we can start formally with the presentation.
Yep.
And I'll hand it over to you.
Are coming through on your end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to make sure it's the right screen sharing here.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's start with what an objection is. And we can use chat for this if it's easier. Just throw some ideas in the chat as to what you consider an objection.
The more you participate, the better
objection?
it will become, because this is going to be a very interactive session. And for sales people, we have to be interactive. Okay, Uday says, I don't have enough time to look into this. Interesting, Nikolai. Anything that's keeping the client from buying.
So, and exactly, so anything keeping. Yeah, think of it, what is the objection? Not examples of the objection, but actually what is an objection? How would you define it? Who else has some ideas?
Come on, we have got brainy good guys, all salespeople. How would you define an objection? Rehan, probably you can help us out. How do you define an objection? And customer.
Well, Ali, thanks. I think an objection.
Yes, please, Rehan. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, an objection simply is, what's in it for me? I mean, why should I buy a product?
Okay, thanks, Rehan. Whatever that is keeping the client customer from believing in your proposition. Thanks, Rehan. Thanks. The story the client is telling themselves, Stefan. Good.
Nice.
Interesting inputs.
So now, I appreciate everyone sharing that. So I want you to think of the base word, which is object. And when you hear the word object, what image comes to mind for you? Just throw that in the chat as well.
The first instinctive image that comes with the word object. Something physical.
Something physical. Who else?
That can be taken or given. Okay, object is something physical that can be taken or given. Anybody else wants to try his luck or share his knowledge? Our friend from Copenhagen, or from the moon, or from Karachi. Probably the Brooks will have to do the work, the magic.
So, as I mentioned, it is something usually for most people, something that's physical, something that's tangible, something that's maybe seen as an obstacle or hurdle. And really, that's what gives it its power. That's what gives objections their power, because it is tangible. It becomes something like a block that I have to overcome. And that's what makes it feel real. And that's why a lot of people, when they get into objection, it kind of stops them in their tracks. It's like it becomes this obstacle, because the image in their mind that's coming up is something that's physical and tangible. So when we think of objection, what are another frame perhaps, or another way to reframe the word objection? And by the end of this hour, you'll have some ideas on that. So before we go there, I want to touch on some terms. So the word frames itself. So essentially, frames are just that. It's a frame of reference, perspective, a way of thinking about things, maybe a belief or a mindset. And when you look at some examples of frames, what are some frames that you may have when you think about doing sales, working with prospects, customers, clients? What are some frames of mind that you may have? Throw that in the chat as well. Maybe this may help. I'll start it off this way. For example, if fill in the blank around, it's hard to sell.
Okay. Ayaz says, can you elaborate on frames?
So
Ayaz.
maybe the frame of mind. Yep. So think, for example, it's hard to sell during COVID. That may be a frame of mind. It's hard to sell in the beginning of the year. It's hard to sell insurance. It's hard to sell software. It's hard to sell.
It's hard to sell credit cards
during a crisis. How many things can you come up with? Hard to sell credit cards. Hard to sell a house or car. How many other things can you come up with? That's a frame of mind that you may have.
Or a belief as well.
Exactly. This will uncover the beliefs as well.
It's hard to sell technology to a conservative
Nice.
industry. Great one, Nick. Anybody else? My product service isn't good enough. Stefan. Interesting. This is a real good one. It's hard to sell yourself.
Hard to sell yourself. Yeah.
Very nice, yes.
Let's take a look at another example. What about prospects don't like? What other frames may be that you have? Prospects don't like to pay a lot of money. Prospects don't like something that's old or outdated. Prospects may say they don't like to listen to you, or don't like to do too much research. How many other frames may you have around that?
Okay, Mudasara says it's hard to sell a new brand, and prospects don't like to commit. Good one, Ayaz. Prospects don't like to commit. Okay. Mrs. Aftab, Rehan, you can always throw in your thoughts. Vakas, Jawad.
One more. People don't buy. People don't buy from aggressive salespeople. People don't buy during the holidays, people don't buy when they don't trust you as a salesperson. How many
Without
other
seeing
frames could you
results
have
first.
around people don't buy?
People don't buy without seeing results first. Good, Stefan, that's a good one.
Nice, nice.
And people don't buy in a
In a
recession.
recession.
Great, yes.
Good, good. I think you guys are trying to get the idea. And just the way you may have frames, your prospects will also have their own set of frames. You know, they may think salespeople are what?
Liars.
They're pushy.
Salespeople are pushy. They are liars. They are
liars.
They're over smart. Just wanting to make money. Yes. They don't understand me.
Yeah. And another one could be buying. X means buying a house means what? That I have a lot of money to spend. Buying something for full price means I'm overpaying. Buying insurance means I don't have faith in me.
Let me throw a very interesting one here. Was buying this house means I will spend I'll waste all my life earnings on this one brick and mortar. I have faced this one, by the way, personally. When I was selling houses,
yeah,
the guy said, if I buy this one, it means I will waste all my life earnings on this brick and mortar. So why should I buy?
That certainly is a frame to have, and that can impede a sale.
Mm-hmm.
So just as you have frames, your prospects have frames. And why are frames so important? Well, when you think of your own frames, do they actually help or hinder your sales, the current frames that you have? The way you think about yourself, or the way you think about sales, the way you think about prospects, maybe even the sales process. Does that actually help or hinder your sale? That's something just to reflect on. And what do you think happens when two people that are interacting with each other in a transaction, each coming with their own frames, what's going to happen? You know, when you have a seller kind of coming with their selling oriented kind of mindset and a customer from their customer oriented buying frame of mind, you end up typically getting some sort of clash. So what do you do from that point?
And by the way, just
how
if
do you get
allow me
to some level of agreement?
Allow me to add one more frame
Sure.
here, Oz, with your permission. There's one very interesting frame that I have come across working with salespeople. This guy is not going to buy. I can tell you, these will buy, these will not buy. This is not a customer, this is a customer. So it's, what do you call it? Let's see. What do you call it, guys? X is going to buy, Y is not going to buy.
You're asking them what they call that process?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would they call that process? And do they come across that as well? Preconceived, prejudice, generalization. Excellent, Ayaz. That's exactly what it is. Please, Os, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, the biases, that's what really the frames are. Those biases, when you're going into an interaction, do they help your sale or does it hurt? And the more you typically, the longer you've been doing sales, the more of those you have. The more you say, okay, this prospect looks like these other 10 I've had and they're not going to buy, or this is definitely going to be a good sale. So you start going into that transaction with that frame in mind just from all your past experience. The question is, does it help or hinder you? So when you get that clash, how do you get agreement? So one way is to basically chunk up from there. So we'll look at chunking up and chunking down. And another way of really looking at that or saying that is going more general or getting more specific. So chunking up is getting more general, chunking down is getting more specific. And I want to illustrate that with just an example here. So if we were to take something very tangible like a car, and you see there's chunking up, below it is chunking down. So how do you go from a car, how do you chunk down from a car? What makes up a car? Throw that in the chat. Whatever you define as what makes up a car.
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Yes. What else? So one way to approach this is you can say models of cars. Another way to look at it is parts of a car. So when you're looking at a car, you can chunk down and say, yeah, I saw the question that came up. I'll address that as well. So, you know, you can chunk down to Mercedes, you can chunk down to BMW. Those can be all types of cars. But from there, you still can chunk down further and say, okay, what do all those cars have? Well, all of them will have an engine. You chunk down from there. You're getting more specific. And you can get even more specific. They'll all have a transmission. And if you get even more specific, you can say they'll all have fluid. So you started with a car and you chunked it down. You got more and more specific to engine, to transmission, to fluid. Now, if you look at the deeper you go in it, or the further down you go, the more specific you go, that's getting to more details. And the more details you get into is more areas where you can have disagreement. You can debate between, you know, if this fluid is better for my car or that fluid is better for the car. Or you can say, well, we can both agree that as long as we have fluid for the car, the transmission is going to run smoother. And if we can say, if we have a smooth running transmission, the engine is going to work. And if we have a good solid engine, the car is going to function. So from there, we're chunking up. And from chunking up from car, you can say vehicle. There are different types of vehicles you can have. You can have a car, you could have a truck, a van. Those are all different types of vehicles, but you're chunking up from vehicle. You can also go, what's higher than that? What is a vehicle an example of, which is transportation. Now, transportation can consist of a vehicle like a car, truck, or a van, or it can be a boat, a train, it could be a plane. Any of those can be means of transportation. And if you even chunk up from there, they all are an expression of movement. And you can think of movement as anything that will get you from A to B. If you understand kind of how chunking works, what that helps you is anytime you're listening to anybody, you can hear what level are they just having this conversation? What level are they at? And where do I want to take them? Maybe in the objection or the conversation you're having, the level is you're talking about safety or trust, and you want to get more specific. I want to direct this conversation to get more specific. And how do I take my language and make it more specific? Because I want to take them to a specific place. Maybe there's a dispute and you're getting very specific. Well, how do we get some more agreement? How do we chunk up from here so that we're on the same page? So the better you can get at hearing kind of the different levels and understanding this as a concept, that there are different levels of communication, and if you can direct where that goes, the more you can get agreement, move the conversation to where it needs to be based on that specific outcome at that point in time. So when we've talked about frames, there's also this notion of pre-frames. The pre-frames are basically what's happening when you start the interaction. You know, they're governing that conversation. And chunking up is, you know, one way we talked about getting more agreement, but it's also setting that frame. Now, how do you change an established frame? So you're both coming in with your own kind of perceived frames. You may start off the conversation and say, Well, today we're going to be looking at these demonstration, or we're going to be looking at the car, we're going to be looking at the house, and by the end of it, you'll have at least enough information to make a decision to either learn more about this one way or the other. So can I count on you to, you can either give me a yes or no by the end of this conversation or the end of this meeting. So you're setting that up as a frame to say, can we get one particular outcome? So that's your pre-frame to govern this kind of interchange. Now, if you want to change an established frame, you can go to reframing it. And reframe is basically just offering a different frame. So they may have one frame, you're suggesting, hey, there may be a more conducive frame to help us move this conversation along. And there's a structure to that. So, and the structure of reframing, part of that requires how you hear it. So hearing that something's being said and there's a implication, this, therefore that, meaning that there's two pieces, so like an A and a B here, and they're equated together. So if I give you an example, during COVID, I can't sell anything. Those are two different frames offered up together. A is no one is buying during COVID, and B is I can't sell anything. And those are equated together. That's why A equals B. So when they're equating that together, you can reframe either one. You could reframe both of them. There's a lot of different options here. As an example, you can say, do you feel you've adapted how you sell to how people are buying during COVID? And that's basically changing what the focus is, rather than focusing on, I can't sell anything during, okay, there's different ways of selling during different times. Have you adapted your strategy? So whenever you're doing reframes, it's not, you can't expect that it'll change everything. It's loosening up a position. So you're saying, this is the frame that's being offered. Here's another way of looking at it. And you may use reframes. You may go through 5 reframes just to get to the real objection sometimes. Because oftentimes, if you've been in sales for a while, you know that the first objection you hear, it's the one that's the most convenient. It's the surface level one. It's the one that says, oh, I can't afford this, or I don't have time for this right now. It's the one that they just throw out there. But the real objection is deeper. So you have to go into that conversation, ask more questions to get deeper, and you can use reframes to get you there. So, and there's 2 components to successfully kind of delivering that reframe. One is the rapport building, which Mamdali will get into here, and the other is just hearing and recognizing the existing frame being used, which is what we've been. So I want to take a moment, turn it over to Mamdali because he has this exercise he wants to go through, which is going to really help in the rapport building, because when you're doing reframes, rapport is critical to successfully say some of these things. So let me turn it over to you, Mamdali.
Thank you, Oz. Thank you. Oz, before I move ahead, can we just bring that one back? Okay, great.
You see that? Yep.
Yep, I can see it now. And I think we had some statement. If you can please bring it up. Okay, guys, question number 1 from you. First of all, thank you, Oz, for this great introduction to the framings and reframings and stuff. What do you think, and I would like everybody to answer this question, because I am a bit different than Oz in this thing, that I'm a very greedy giver. If you don't give me, I don't give back. So I want something back very front, very fast. So what do you think? What is the biggest stumbling block when it comes to sales, when people not being able to develop that connection? What do you think is one stumbling block? One thing that stops that connection between the buyer and the seller, the salesman and the buyer, no matter what you are selling, that one thing, what do you think is that? Trust. Okay, interesting.
Nick says
Or
trust.
trying to see it from the other person's point of
Ayaz
view.
says not try.
Okay, good. And okay, Nick, I would like to go with you. When you say trust, okay, listening, thank you, Nick. Communication gap, Mudasra, great. Nick, when you say trust, what would be the first thing that you would have to do to establish that trust if you are selling it to someone? What do you think could be that first one thing? If you have only one thing to do, what should that one thing be? Listening, good one, Vakas. Okay. Okay, let me make your life a little bit easy. There are two skills that I would want you to take out from today's session. And if you can master these two skills, you're going to master not only sales, relationships, anything in the world that you want. Number one, as Vakas said, listening. And listening does not mean hearing. There's a huge difference between listening and hearing. We all hear, but very few listen to understand. We all hear to respond. And similarly, the second thing is observation. Observation does not mean seeing. We see, but we don't observe. The minute you develop the habit of observation, you will be the masters of understanding body language and micro expressions, which are the key to rapport building. Rapport is something which I'll tell you very frankly is 50% job done. And enhancing the rapport only means 75% job done. Suppose if you can click the next part of it. So the thing that you really need to observe and match is micro expressions and body language. And here is a small exercise we are going to do. I want you all to please pin my video. So there's a test going to be happening for all of you. So if you pin my video, I would be doing some stuff and I would like you tell me what did I do. Who would volunteer to sell me something? Let's see, sell me a pen. Who would volunteer to do that? Nick, would you want to volunteer for that? Sell me a pen or your headphone, anything.
Sure.
And before
Well,
you
I
do
can see
that,
that you're certainly.
wait. Before you do that, let me give you some tips. The answers are going to be here. I want you to read my answer without me disclosing it. Okay? And I'm making it very, very open in front of all of you. So, okay, Nick, go ahead. Sell me.
Fantastic, Mohammed. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I can certainly see that you're a very well-dressed man. It seems like you've got a sartorial style there. So I think, what would go along really well with that is this nice Mont Blanc fountain pen here that I think would fit very well in with your character and your personality. So I'm wondering, is this your pen? Perhaps
How much is it?
perhaps you'd like to. How much is it? Well, I mean, the good thing is, if you just, you write your name down, then you'll have it for free. So perhaps you'd like a pen to do that.
That's a big cash. There must be something behind it. Okay, here you go. Question. What did I do on my face? That was your actual answer. Because when you were talking to me, you were looking down, you were not looking at me. So, did anybody catch the thing that I did on my face? That was the answer to his question, even without me speaking. Did anybody figure what did I do on my face? Any guesses? Nick, did you figure out anything? No. Stefan, Ayaz, Mrs. Aftab, Mudassira, anybody figured out, Rehan? Tightening lips, okay. Not interested in this deal, Jawad, okay. What did I do? What is my question? See, this is the second exercise. The second thing I want you to take home, listening. What did I do? Frowning and tilting head, okay. Now, I did a micro expression, and now I'm going to do, I want you to repeat the last sentence, Nick, only when you said that this would be free for you. So this time, I'm going to do a macro expression, okay? And now I want you to figure out what did I do, okay? So go ahead, Nick. How much is it?
Yeah, I can tell you this pen will be free for you.
Oh,
How much is it?
There must be a catch. What did I do this time? I made a macro expression. Yes, Mudassara, perfect, well spotted. I gave a smile. It means I'm already sold. And because you were not looking at my face, you missed my smile, and you probably were looking at my head, you were looking here, you were looking there, you were looking at my body. Yes, they all are part of it. The answer was on this face. Had you figured out my smile, even if you had told me $100 and I had given a little smile on my face, you would have done the deal. You could have, why people haggle? When they start haggling, because they don't see that what is going on the face, they miss that part, and because they miss that part, so what happens after that is they enter into the haggling phase. Like I do with people, I tell them, oh no, that's too expensive. Give me another price. Right? So just by observation, the micro expressions, there are 7 universal micro expressions which we teach during our body language training, and they are critical. And I'll give you one more example. Let's say I need another volunteer. Who can come on mic with me? One more volunteer needed. Ayaz, would you like to come? Great. Sure. So there you go. Okay, Ayaz, let's say you are hiring me and I am here and I want you to ask me a question on my experience with my previous employer. Okay. Let's say, were you happy with your previous employer, or was your previous employer happy with you? And everybody, I want you to observe my face here. Yes, go ahead.
This is first, just making sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, hi, Muhammad Ali. Give me a little bit of information about your last job. How was your experience in that position and with your superior? I'm kind of curious to get an idea of how you felt about that.
My previous employer was very happy with my performance. What did I do, guys? I did something. What did I do?
So you took a big sigh and sort of like a gasp, taking a breath in. So that would mean that you were trying to maybe hold back your initial impression of the employer.
No, Ayaz, I will change that one. I'll say it in another way. Without any gasp, I'll say it with enthusiasm.
Okay.
My previous employer was very happy with my performance. What did I do? Okay, I'll make a macro expression. Now
you're too enthusiastic. I don't trust you.
Okay, now Mudassara, bingo. I'm going to make it a macro expression. My previous employer was very happy with my performance. I made a disgust, and that disgust came on the word employer. Now imagine you missed this. First of all, you missed that disgust. Secondly, this disgust on the word employer implies minimum 3 meanings. Number 1, either I feel disgusted with my employer, or my employer felt disgusted with me, or I feel disgusted to myself right now because I'm lying to you. It can have 3 different connotations. Now, if I say the same sentence and I say it, my previous employer was very happy with my performance. Now, the issue is not with my employer. The issue is in my performance. The same three connotations, at least the same three, come into my performance measurement. So if you are talking selling to a client, let's say you want to sell the client this piece of wood, and he says, and I'm going to do another one for you. And he says, I'll do a macro rather than not a micro, so make it easier for you. So he says, yeah, we know. What did he do? Contemptuous smile. So basically, he's telling you, hey, you get out. I know what you're talking about. Right? Now, if you miss these micro expressions, O's will help me in letting you know what will happen. And Oz, I want your screen back, please. By the way, this is just one thing.
1 second.
Your tonality, your non-verbals are the key to rapport building. Your tonality, for example, I'll give you an example till the time Oz does that. I'll give you an example of tonality. If I say, for example, I will, with your permission, Ayaz, I'm going to take your name. So if I say Ayaz, it's a statement. If I say Ayaz, my intonation is going up. It's a question mark. And if I say Ayaz, only by my intonation going down, I am commanding you. You know, sometimes girls do this. Am I looking nice? What does it mean? They are asking a question. It's called question inflection. Okay. Yes, Oz, thank you very much for helping me out. So I want this sentence, I want you all to read with me. So Oz, if you can put that sentence, please. Let's eat grandpa. Can anybody tell me what does this sentence mean? And I want an honest answer, not what you think should be the answer. What does this sentence mean? Let's eat grandpa. Who is being served? What is being served at the dinner tonight? Cannibalism. I love it. Yes. Yes. I love it. Okay. So these micro expressions are like the missing. Yeah. Oh, what is the comma? Let's eat, grandpa. What does it mean now? It changes the whole sentence. So only by missing the micro expressions, by missing the body language, you end up in a situation where it becomes red and it can be dangerous. If you can figure out those expressions, this red turns to green. And that's where the non-verbals are going to save your life. This is one key element which differentiates an amazing salesman from a struggling salesman. An amazing salesman has the eye to read, has the eye to observe, has the ears to listen and comprehend and understand. And I think Oz has got some more interesting exercises for us, which we can add to this conversation. Any question, by the way, guys?
So, and I want to point out if you.
Yeah, sorry, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, if you've been doing sales for a while, you've either done this yourself or heard of other people do this where you oversell, meaning that the sale was already completed, you already got the deal, but you didn't stop talking. So paying attention to the micro expressions and either seeing, hearing, can be little nuances, and those things make a big difference to say, okay, you know what, I've got this, I need to stop talking and get the stuff signed off. So this way you can save the sale rather than talk yourself out of the sale.
Indeed, indeed.
So I want to look at some, we asked you to submit some of the objection stuff that you're facing. So I wanted to capture some of those and looking at kind of the pattern of what we're seeing. And we added these here in the same structure as we looked at kind of reframes. So the A and B, so there's two sides of it. So there's some, for example, it's very expensive, and B, I can't afford it. So that same structure follows through. So one can be around price. We're currently happy with what we currently have. We don't need your product. I'm busy. I don't have time to discuss this. I don't have the budget. I can't buy it. It's not a priority right now. We'll look at this later. Your competitor's been around longer. They'll offer better service. So you'll see that a number of these things follow. Either it's a price issue, it's a time, it's a trust issue, and how do we go about reframing these? So there's three different types of reframes that I want to cover here. And one is chunking up and down, which we've covered. There's also redefining. So redefining is basically, there's an A and a B. You can basically redefine what A means, or you can redefine what B means. And that's basically just offering them a new frame for either A or for B. The third one is intention. So that can be the intention, really what maybe, if you can hear it, what may be the underlying real reason why the objection is coming from the prospect side. Or in times it can also be you sharing your real intention if you're getting some pushback, and you can kind of go even chunk up really high and say, this is really what my intention is for me to be saying this. And we'll be giving you this cheat sheet, but I want to use this for now, and we'll use this to kind of understand these different ones. And you'll get a copy of this as well. So chunking up, going more general, what's this, what is their objection an example of? Chunking down is getting more specific. What specifically are they objecting? Redefine is going either lateral, saying, okay, how do I redefine A, or how do I redefine B? And then intention is that really going higher level. What is their intent? What is my intent in this particular interaction? So if we take an example, say this is a price objection. Sorry, I can't afford this. I'll have to pass on it. What the two things being equated, A and the B, is A is I can't afford it. B is can't buy it as a result. So a potential question you can ask around, so this is kind of staying in line with the chunking up. So under what circumstance would you consider this investment of value? So we're taking it out of the realm of what you afford and what you're going to buy, and you're chunking it up to saying investment is something you value. The words investment and value are much different than afford and buy. You go much higher level. It's much broader in that sense. If you look at time as one of the other examples, I'm very busy right now, check back in 6 months. What's the equation there? It's basically saying I'm busy now and I'll be less busy later. That's the A and the B. And one of the things you can, once again, chunk down to, just kind of staying in this column, is what specifically will happen in 6 months that will make you less busy? Because the implication was that I'll be less busy later. But now you want to drill down and say what specifically will happen. Oftentimes it's a way just to say, well, I'm going to push this off later. But if you can drill down into say, okay, what's going to happen then? Either they're going to have an answer for you and you'll have a better idea of, okay, where do I place them in my sales cycle? Or you'll find out if they don't have an answer for you that maybe they don't have the specifics. And that will basically get you to the next real objection potentially. So they may come up with a new objection, say, okay, I'm not going to talk about the 6-month delay, I'm going to talk about something else. So now it gives you another opportunity to reframe the next thing. Another one is priority. So this looks interesting, but just isn't important right now. So the A and B here is it's not important right now, but it will be down the road. And a potential reframe for that would be, does waiting really make a project more important, or does it just drive more urgency and sacrifice quality? So you're no longer talking about the importance piece, you're redefining it and say, is it really about importance or is it about urgency and quality? So you're changing the way you're defining that. And lastly, looking at trust, so your competitors have more features. So more features would be kind of your A. And sometimes what you'll see, the A and the B, is it's not always explicitly stated. They may just say your competitors have more features, and the implication of that is, okay, well, those more features means that there's either more value or they're going to be better. And a way to reframe that from an intention point of view is having our customers make the right decision is just as important to us. How can we put your mind at ease? So if you really go to the higher level, what is, if somebody starts talking about your competitors have more features, yeah, at one level they could be talking about the features, but if you go high enough, what are they really saying? And the real intention is, I want to make a purchase, but I don't want to make a mistake. I want to make the right decision. That's the intention. They may never say that, but that's the level that they're thinking, and they may talk about the features and the details. So if you can say, I'm going to take this at a much higher level and say, hey, we want our customers to make the right decisions as well. How can we help address that? Now you've maybe jumped, 4 other objections they're going to give you ahead of that, because now you're addressing the real thing. It's like, okay, I want to have trust in this vendor. I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. I want to make sure that they will get me to where I need to go and make me look good in the process. And that's why we covered kind of the rapport building, because the most important piece of this is rapport. So when you have rapport, you can get away with saying a lot of things. If you don't have rapport, even a very simple thing can kind of blow up in your face.
Indeed.
So any questions there around that? Like I said, you've got a copy of this.
Before you put on the questions, I just wanted to add one thing, guys. The way I look at reframing and I look at the framing and the pre-framing and stuff is, I had a very, very, very old picture of my school age days. That picture was lying dull. It had dust all around. The frame was broken, and it was just lying, underneath my shoe cabinet. It had fallen down there. So my child, he saw that after a long time. He picked it up and he said, "Dad, shall I throw this one? Maybe I can just, this picture is your picture, but it doesn't look nice now. It's all torn and stuff." So what I did was I took that picture out to the framing guy, and I told him, put a new frame around it. And the same picture now is hanging in my room, and it is looking totally different. A lot of times it is just having that new frame around whatever is going on. That makes a difference, as Paul was mentioning. So yes, please, questions you have. You can even put your mics on if you want to. You can raise your hand, or you can, whichever way you feel like. By the way, for those who are attending it today, we will have a very special offer for you for the sales mastery as well.
One other thing I want to touch on, just how you can reframe the objections customers may have. You can also use the same type of reframes to reframe your own limitations.
Yes.
So if you're saying any of these type of things, sales is hard, I can't succeed, I don't feel smart enough, I should go look for another job. Those are all opportunities for you to reframe your own self to help overcome that obstacle, that block. What kind of questioning? What line of questioning can you use to drill down? What is the objection? What do you mean by that, Paz?
I mean, sorry if I just put on the mic for a second, but simply, what may be some introductory questions that you may ask or to try to elicit either their frame, their pre-frame, any of those things kind of going in sort of at the outset.
Yeah, if you're doing a discovery call, if you're having any type of conversation, if you're listening, everybody's revealing their frames at all times. Anytime they're opening their mouth, they're sharing the frame that they're coming from. It's really a matter of, okay, is that frame kind of make it a sticking point in the sales transaction, or is it something, they can talk about their dogs. So, okay, the frame is their dog person, not a cat person. That may not be useful in a sales, but that's a frame that's being shared. So it's listening for the frames that are going to be a hindrance, meaning that if you're selling pet supplies, then dog and cat stuff may be important. And you could say, okay, well, they're a dog person. I don't want to talk about cat stuff to them. I want to focus on the dog stuff. So it's context specific to what's going to be useful for that interaction.
And as I said, that if you inculcate two qualities, which is listening and observing, you will find answers from their own questions, and you will find questions from their own answers. They are always revealing the information. Every sentence, every move, every action, every micro expression they do, they actually tell you everything about themselves, because we are sometimes not in the habit of listening and observing. While like I told Nick, when Nick was selling me the phone, the pen, he, for a moment, the moment where was the actual price moment where he was giving it to me for free, that at exact that moment he looked down. Now that is why an observing eye and a listening ear is what tells you exactly what frames they are, what limitations, what belief systems they are, what is going to, for example, I'll just give you one small example. The other day I was with somebody, and they were, they were buying, what do you call this, a sofa set for their home. The salesman was very, very clever. They were talking amongst themselves, husband and wife, and the salesman was overhearing everything. Then, when wife sat on a sofa, which husband did not like, now think about it. Wife sat on the sofa, husband apparently did not like it. And the salesman was so observant that he told them all the qualities of only that sofa, which the wife, when she sat on it, he saw that smile on her face. And he figured that out, that wife likes this one. And the one which husband was putting his hand on, husband really liked it, but he didn't actually bother to tell them more. So this was all a matter of observation, and eventually you can make a guess which sofa did they buy. Husband will lose at
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the micro expressions of all that comes to, it becomes to know who the actual decision maker is. And some of that can be revealed just through those expressions and what they say and what they don't say. That will let you know how much power they have. So, and what I'll do is, if you look at this sheet, when you get the cheat sheet, I'll make these underlined. So, you're some things to listen for. So, in this phrase, if you hear the word expensive, that's letting you know the frame. Happy is letting you know the frame. Busy is letting you know the frame. Budget, priority, around longer. The longer is the time. So it's getting your ears so used to this that you can hear the frame as soon as you hear the words. So I'll underline these so that it's more apparent to, okay, what's the actual frame that is being revealed here. That will help, I think.
Great. Any other questions, guys?
So yep. So as Mohammed Ali mentioned, we do have a sales mastery program starting the week after next. So like not this Sunday, but the Sunday after. This is just kind of a teaser. We looked at 3 of the reframes. There's another, I think, 10 or 11 more. And then there's a lot more into kind of the body language, micro expressions, other language components, more around rapport building. So it's 12 Sundays long, 3 hours per session. So it's total of 36 hours of training. And I think it starts 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. GMT of 12:30. So the early bird special, which ends on this Friday, it's $500 and 80,000 rupees. But for anybody attending today, you're getting an additional $100 off, or 15,000 rupees off. And
this course has basically 3 levels.
cheat sheet deck as well.
Yeah, and this is actually 3 levels. So one is the foundation, then it's advanced, and then it's the expert level. So all 3 levels in the same price, in this price basically. So it's that's the full course. Otherwise, each level is almost the same price. So that's an already discounted and thing. But as you said that there's no compulsion for you. Only if you really want to improve, do join that one. There's no compulsion.
Or if you have employees on your team that are in sales that may need a crash course in a lot of this would be useful for them as well.
So
Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll be respectful of your time.
Before we wrap up, guys, we would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Or maybe you can, if you can please share a few thoughts, a couple of words or sentences on the mic. That would be great. About what was the new thing that you learned, or what was the best part of the session today?
If you're on mute, you can unmute.
Yeah, you can unmute.
Yeah, I really appreciate the frames, and just being able to sort of look at multiple ways of where they're coming from. Again, for me, it's a refresher, but again, always good to go back and look at it. That trying to be able to just pay attention to where they're coming from.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Nick, would you like to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a really good learning with the micro expressions and the macro expressions to differentiate when have you actually closed and build rapport, and when you actually just working against yourself, or by overselling, right? So
yeah,
observing those things, I think, would be a really good takeaway to take forward.
Great. Thank you very much, Nick. Anybody else wants to add something? Mudassara, you want to add? Jawad? Rehan? Mujtaba? Anyone? Okay. I think they are having issues. Rehan, can you hear me? Because your mic is coming on and off. Maybe some. Anyway.
Yes, I can.
Yes, Rehan.
Listening to
So
you
would love to have your feedback.
Man, I didn't want to miss this session, so I was listening to you guys while I was working on something else as well. So, but yeah, I think, the role of micro expressions, it takes a lot more practice for you to understand, but that's the key, because, we don't pay attention to, what's being told to us through these expressions when we're in these, sales calls. Our focus is so much on the sales pitch. So, that's an important, change we need to bring in, in our sales teams, for them to be able to identify, consciously, get the message, so yeah, that's, especially the exercise that you did, making people identify those, expressions. That's what I think is one of the key takeaways and important in our salespeople to do better.
Thank you very much, Dan. Much appreciated. So, guys, I think, Nusra, thank you for your message.
But you know what, Ali, I'll also, Ali, I'll also, me, man. I'm also a bit of a critique for the betterment. I think for a global, sales force, these things are fantastic. But when you actually look at, offering these solutions to organizations in Pakistan, there's a little bit of more work that you'll actually have to do. So we'll have that conversation, later. But
Sure.
I think you need to approach it a little differently.
Sure. Much
You
appreciated,
know what I'm
Rehan,
talking
as
about.
always. I know exactly what you're saying, and highly appreciated, Rehan. Thank you very much for your feedback. It's very valuable, and definitely we'll have a word on that. And before we say thanks and
Yeah,
bye
yeah,
to
absolutely.
everybody else, uh, anyone, as Oz mentioned, he will be sending out that email to all of you with the cheat sheets. So please, you can respond to that. As we said, only if you want to improve your sales skills at your leisure time. And you can register through various ways. Oz will actually let you know how you can register. Right, Oz?
Oz, I'd like to, if I can, Ali,
Sure,
Oz,
sure.
I'd like to know a little more about when you were introducing yourself, you were talking about mind hacking. I'd
Yeah,
like to know a little more about what that is.
it's using these tools and technologies to look at how you're currently operating and coming up with different little hacks, for a better word, formulas to say, okay, this is how you're currently operating, and how's that either helping you or hinder you to achieve more optimal performance.
Okay.
So we can basically kind of decode what the existing way things are and come up with a hack and new ways of operating.
Interesting. I think, that's very important, because Ali knows this, when I talk to salespeople in my organization or even outside, the two very important elements are the self-confidence that they have in themselves being able to sell the product, and the belief in the product. Now, whether that product is good, there's a competition that's offering it better, and when Ali was, cross-questioning Nick on what's the price for this, all that confidence shatters, because you're not confident of your pricing, you're not confident of your quality, you're not confident of yourself, you're not confident of that particular product. So I think, that's why I wanted to know more. When you talk about mind hacking, is it really enabling people with the confidence that I am able to sell anything to anyone, and here's how I'm going to do it, and of course, building that self-confidence about the product that you're approaching with. Uh,
Yeah,
is that really,
exactly.
have I got it correct? That's the kind of context you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's sometimes it's confidence in itself. Sometimes it's having the competence of the product knowledge to say, okay, that was what I'll build my confidence upon. I understand what the product does. I know how it works, and now I feel more confident. It's finding out, what exactly it is that's getting in your own way.
Okay, so interesting. Yeah, because I'm, also a big fan of mind hacking, and use that in our sort of Ali knows, when we talk about people happiness, giving them the kind of those hacks for them to be able to be happier in their lives and at workplace.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nick's, I think, still on the call. I don't know if he's experienced a mind hacking session, if you wanted to share any comments on around that.
Yeah, it's exactly as you alluded to. It's going down to the root, pulling out, I think, the sort of underlying lessons and dissecting what's going wrong, like diagnosing the sales calls and figuring out, what's exactly happening there, mechanisms, and then how can you leverage them to your advantage and whatnot. But it again also boils down to confidence and that sort of context that you need to stand behind your product. So it's definitely was a really useful tool and practice.
Yeah, appreciate that, Nick.
Nice.
Thanks, Nick.
Nice. Thanks, Nick.
All right.
See, I don't want to keep everybody holding, Ali and I can actually have conversations we can keep going on for another few hours. Yeah.
I want
or
to kind of
if
wrap this
if
up
you
with
want to
the-
stay on, if you want to stay online when everybody else leaves, me and you and Oz can have another conversation.
Yeah, I think Ali, let's absolutely. No, I think we should.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you joining us today. And a little bit later today, I'll send over the cheat sheet so you'll have a copy of that.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. So Ali,
Yeah.
you and you're staying back,
Yes, I am.
so
I
we
am.
can have a chat.
Nice.
I didn't want to sound rude that we stay back and everybody else leaves.
No, that's
obviously
fine.
stay.
That's fine. That's fine. I can understand. Let me close the screen share first. So, yeah. Screen
As
share.
long as Oz got time, you and I can have a chat. Oz, have you got time?
Yeah.
When